Shu mentioned. Tell your friends. You heard it here first, folks. It's gonna be another Shu stream. Haven't done one in a while. And I figured reviews would be a nice time to do it. We got some lovely art here. This is old art from Ejapal, who I believe, like, this was made, like, right after the most recent reviews stream, which was, like, several months ago at this point. And I had been, like joked about how join me next time to see me give Kingsfield 1 out of 10. And Ejopal commented on their own art. They were like, disclaimer, I don't want to portray Grapefruit as an ugly, horrific, angry goblin of a man, but I don't take it personally. Don't worry. I've been caricatured much worse, and I really don't care. Like, I know it's all just kidding around. And we got Lark in the background painting, I think, the screen for some reason. Oh my god, this art was posted literally months ago, and just this instant, I looked at the fucking swatch, the, like, color palette on his hand. He's putting in... Is this because I learned from Lark? This is blowing my mind right now. It's my organization system. It's the fucking conditional formatting on my Excel spreadsheet from red to green that Lark taught me how to do. That's why he's here. I genuinely just put that together, and I've been thinking about this art for months. That's insane. And there's also a Kingsfield skeleton. So thank you, Ejopal, for your beautiful art. I can do this face, though. Here, we got the webcam today. Hello, everybody. I've got my Cheerios. I'll be feeding Shu. Shu will be on cam for most of the stream, and thus we've also got the Roach Cam label. I've got a bunch of fucking stuffed animals behind me, including... Are you ready? Dun dun dun! The Plague Doctor plushie. The infamous Plague Doctor plushie. Anyway, that's not like what I based the Plague Doctor plushie tweet on, but it was like I made the Plague Doctor tweet, and then Isabel mentioned that she had one of those, like, tucked away in storage. These are all Isabel's, like, old stuffed animals. She likes to sort of decorate with stuffed animals, and she was, like, downsizing, and I put them all in one place to take a big picture of them for, like, Craigslist, and whatever. It didn't work out. It's no longer listed, so don't try to get these on Craigslist. I'm just gonna have to do something else with them, but they're there for now, so I have, like, an e-girl background. Why are you a roach? I'm Roach! I'm only Roach for now. Well, should I eat a little Cheerio? I'll eat a little Cheerio like he does. Actually, these are so stale. These are old as fuck. Let's get into the reviews. It's been a very long time since I've done one of these, so I'm gonna have to refresh people on what exactly the review process is even like. What the fuck are we watching, essentially? Here's the little baby Shu. I'll try to get a real good angle. Little up. That seems perfect. It's kind of askance because this puck kind of gets in the way sometimes. The pink thing on the side. There. That. So yes, this is the time of day when he is normally sleeping. So he's mostly just gonna be resting. Right now he's decided to do a very cute pose for the camera. Maybe we could move it over just a tiny bit so we can see more of his beautiful face. There we go. That seems perfect. And here, let's give him, I'll just, like, airdrop a Cheerio. What if we just, like, because normally I have to open the cage. Hold on, I'll open the other side of the cage to do this. It'll require that I kind of finagle my way around the desk, but let's give him a little treat. There you go, buddy. Yeah! There he goes. It's exactly how... I think my imitation was pretty spot on. He looks so spiteful sometimes. He just grabs it in his little hands and munches away. He's not really in view, but whatever. He's allowed his privacy. I guess I should close this side of the cage. I realized last night that I left the bottom part of his cage open, like, all night, and he just didn't get out. So, good on him, I guess. I'm sure he just didn't realize that it was open. Yeah, he sometimes, when he's sleepy, he grimaces a little bit, and I learned about that thing, the rat grimace scale, which also can be an indicator of if they're, like, in pain, but, like, I'm 90% sure that he's just sleepy right now. Oh, yeah. Come on, this puck is really starting to piss me off. Right there. That should be good. We can see his beautiful little snoot. Okay, how old is Shu? He's about 2 years old. His birthday is in December, I believe, and when we got him, it was, like, just after his birthday, and they were like, yeah, he's 2. Still just a little baby. Oh. Yeah! Big stretch! Oh, that was beautiful. I'm always so happy when we catch those on camera. What a good boy. What a good boy. Only 2 years old. Anyway, oh, I didn't even make the face, but I swear I can scowl just like this. Whatever, you'll just have to take my word for it. I got the damn roach cam set up. Now he's gonna go into haunch mode. There is a little bit of his poop in there. I vacuumed out his cage earlier, but, I didn't do it inside his little house because he was sleeping. Anyway, let's get the spreadsheet. To anybody who has not joined us for a previous reviews stream, this is what we're going to be looking at most of the time. Oh man, maybe I should have made Roach Cam. Oh, should I resize Roach Cam just a tiny bit so you can see? It's like it really... Shu matters a lot more here than seeing the information on screen. But let's just size this down a tiny little bit. Hate to do this on stream. Okay, that seems good. Oh wait, actually it's there's a gap there. Beep boop beep boop beep boop beep boop. Okay. So these are like informal review streams where I'm just going through a gigantic list. I obsessively keep a massive spreadsheet of all the games that I've streamed, and also there's a little section at the bottom that's games that I have recently played off stream and don't intend on streaming. The ones that have a little colorful number next to them are ones that I've already reviewed. The ones that have a little white space are ones that I have not reviewed. I give a recommendation and then a number score, and we don't... Yeah, sometimes the overhang on this is actually like literally impossible to line up. It was actually a little bit misaligned at the beginning too. That should be a little bit better. But it's actually at a certain point I think impossible to perfectly line it up like pixel perfect. Like right now it's actually like a tiny bit too far to the right, but who cares? We basically got the real thing is like what I actually say about the game. That's like the real content of it, but I just kind of keep the spreadsheet to be a record, basically. I don't even know why I keep this. If you had to ask me to put into words why I keep this, I don't know why. Just as a little record of what my opinions are vaguely on these games, and I think at the end it'll be pretty satisfying to take like a copy of this spreadsheet and sort it by the column that's ratings. Even though, again, the ratings, you shouldn't think too hard about them. You shouldn't try too hard to compare them to other ones. They're basically just gut instinct, like how much I enjoyed a game out of 10. But I think it would be fun to just sort these and be like, okay, here's a gigantic block of like my absolute fucking favorite games, you know? I mean, I obsessively keep lists. I know I've heard other people say that they do a similar thing. And even before I was a streamer, I kept lists of games and games that I've played, movies that I've watched. Just because obsessive like media personality, I guess. And the intent today, or last time I did a review stream, I said either I'm going to do like this block of games in the next stream, or it will have been so long in between streams that there will be another huge block of games to do. And I'm pleased to report that my lazy ass has put off doing this long enough that we can in fact put off doing the FromSoft games. So I am not going to be providing background music. I'm going to listen to music of my own. Recently, I've been really enjoying the Penny's Big Breakaway OST, just like the whole damn thing. It's fucking amazing. And I encourage you, if you, this is a stream you don't necessarily need to watch super closely. If Shu does something cute, I'll say that he did something cute, or chat will say it probably or something. And do this, like, put this on your headphones while you're like doing chores or something. This is meant to be kind of like a cross between a stream and a podcast in a weird way. It's not super well thought out, but I enjoy doing them, so we're gonna keep doing them. I thought about having a fucking like shoe cam in one corner, my face cam in another corner, and then like salty bet in another corner for like the ultimate, and then Subway Surfers. But I decided against that because I thought that would be too distracting, not only for viewers but for me. I would not be able to keep a sentence going while watching all that shit, especially with salty bet there. And put on your own background music or whatever. There have been plenty of these past streams where I've listened to ASMR the whole time. So just do whatever you feel is right. I will not be providing backing music, unlike Guess the Game and shit. Shu hiccuped. He did. I didn't even see. Sometimes he will sneeze. It definitely won't catch on the mic, but maybe we'll just see it. It's so fucking adorable. I mean, it's just the tiniest little sneeze. He just makes a tiny little, like, sharp exhale. It's so funny. Okay. So we're going to start with Super Mario Wonder, for whatever deranged reason. The way that every time I do one of these streams, there's somebody who's like, so how exactly is this list, like, organized? And the general bit is that it's not. It's, like, it's organized, but it also isn't. It's like all the Nintendo games and like Nintendo adjacent stuff is like at the top for some reason, including Beat City is right next to this gigantic block of Rhythm Heaven games, which, holy shit, this is an insane stretch now. But it's like, then a lot of these are just in order of when I streamed them. Some of them are sorted by category and some of them aren't. And then whenever there's a series, I tend to put them next to each other. So Rayman Origins and Legends, Broken Knight series, blah, blah, blah. So it's like vaguely sorted by the time that I streamed the game, but there's also with a bunch of other arbitrary choices that I've made when I'm adding things. It's like, okay, here's Celeste 64 Fragments of the Mountain, which I played quite recently, actually. I mean, a lot of the reason why it's sorted by stream date is just because when I copied over this list of games from my other spreadsheet, which is hilarious to think about. There's actually like 4 or 5 total, because there's also the Flash game list and the Flash game review list. It was just in that order already, and I felt like, I don't know, the only other way to do it is like alphabetical, and I kind of feel like it's too late for that, and I feel like the order doesn't really matter that much, It's Control F optimized. Yeah. Anyway, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It was mid. It was fucking mid. I have been, and I mean that in like the sense of like it was exactly like on average for a 2D Mario game. Saying it was mid is a definitely like intentionally inflammatory statement. I had a good time playing it. I felt that there was very little about it that was like invigorating or refreshing to me. It's really hard for me personally to assess my feelings on this game without also experiencing bias, because the reaction to this game was so, people were like so wowed about this game, and whenever I've expressed any kind of opinion of like, it really isn't that significant of like a step forward from the new Super Mario Brothers series, that was another thing. I mean, speaking of Plague Doctor tweet, I was like public fucking enemy #1 on Nintendo Twitter for like a day, because I said something along the times of, or something along the lines of, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is just another new Super Mario Bros. Game with like a fresh coat of paint over it, basically, which I essentially stand by. Like that, maybe I said it a little too simplistically, but it doesn't feel like any sort of gigantic leap off of what the series already was. It is a competent 2D platformer. It's very polished. It's very cute and whimsical. this kind of like Mario game style is something that I could easily go the entire rest of my life without playing. I've just experienced so much of it. And I haven't even played all the new Super Mario Bros. Games. But I just feel that, and also just kind of in general, I don't need Mario anymore. I just don't need any more. And I know they'll continue to be made until the Earth fucking crashes into the sun. But I just don't have the enthusiasm that I do for the series that I used to. A lot of it's just because there's so goddamn many. I mean, look at all this. Look at how many Mario games I've played, and this isn't even all the ones, I mean, this is just the ones that I've streamed, you know? I've just had enough. And it was like, you know, they brought in a lot of nice things. I thought the badges were neat. That was like one of the coolest things about the game. Of course, the like Wonder Fruit or Wonder Flower or whatever gimmick was cool. But a lot of the things that were introduced in the Wonder gimmicks were just kind of the same sort of thing where it's like, oh, there's giant versions of the enemies that you've been fighting and stuff. And some of the Wonder effects were really great, and that was the really unique ones were kind of when the game came alive for me more than other Mario games. But at a certain point, it just kind of felt like more of the same, and I didn't feel... Some past Mario games, I've felt the inclination to like full clear them. This one, I did not at all. It had competent co-op multiplayer in a platformer, which is, you know, uncommon. It's still not perfect. I just don't think it's a great format for a game in general. Like, it's always going to be a little awkward for one reason or another. But and, you know, maybe someone will find the solution. Maybe there'll be, maybe we're just on the verge of the most popular breakout hit of a 2D co-op platformer that, like, really sinks its teeth into the culture. But it never feels like a great way. But they got, like, this is one of those things where, again, it's a Mario game. They got about as close to a good co-op multiplayer system as they could. You know? And I do like of course, I love the redone sprites. Like the sprites are models, the little character models. Those are very cute. I felt that, like, really the environments, that's one thing that just looks fucking identical to New Super Mario Bros, frankly. And like Mario 3D World and that sort of vibe. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, man, I really wish that maybe the backgrounds would be a little different, but it just looks straight out of like Nisambui, like all the backgrounds basically, with a few little exceptions here and there. Oh, Shu thumbs his nose at my gaming opinions. So overall, when I start off by saying that Super Mario Bros. Wonder was mid, I guess I recommend it. It's like the most lukewarm recommendation. Oh, I can't type in this spreadsheet right now because I'm on the wrong account. I'm not on my Harvard Grant account. Hold on, folks. This should be a quick, easy fix. Oop. So I guess I would recommend, if I could type the words I guess in here, then I would. And I guess it's an 8? I don't know. I really, like... I don't think this game excited me or was enjoyable to me nearly as much. Or it wasn't as... I didn't enjoy it as much as Mario Odyssey or Bowser's Fury. I love that I always... This is always such a... I feel like a dog chasing my own tail here. I'm always like, don't make comparisons with the scores, and then my scores are like very comparison-based. But like, to say... I'm going to give this one an 8. I just instinctively, I feel like I want to give it an 8. I enjoyed it roughly on the same level as like Mario 3D World. That makes sense to me. It's you know, it's competent, but it really didn't excite me. I mean, I'm honestly being generous by giving it an 8 here. I would even consider giving it a 7.5. I don't know. It's like very competently made, but it's, I don't know. It just feels so... Like, it doesn't really feel like there's a ton of... well, was there something that... Like, I'm totally tripping over my words right now. Was this the thing that people said forced soul for? There was a meme going around a while that was forced soul, and I think it was that some fucking person on Twitter, some talking head on Twitter, said that this game had, like, open quotes, forced soul, right? And everybody was dunking on that person, just being like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? And do you know what I'm gonna do? is I'm in my fucking brown leather coat with the button done up at the bottom and my, my button up shirt. I'm going to stand up from the podium of like old people and I'm going to say that guy was kind of right. That guy was kind of right. It kind of feels like they just like sprayed Febreze on like New Super Mario Bros. There really wasn't like it just. I kind of get what that guy was saying when he said forced soul. I know everybody was shitting on that guy, but I kind of get what he was saying. I kind of get it. It just felt like I don't know. It felt like they did the bare minimum. It's like, oh, the sprites that have looked kind of ugly for like 5 games in a row now, they finally updated them. And people are like standing up and clapping and being like, oh, this is so amazing. Oh, they put it, the talking flowers were fucking dumb, by the way. I left them on. I know there was a switch to toggle them. But I had to leave them on because they are kind of funny, but not, I think, in the way maybe that they intended to be funny. It was kind of like a cringe humor sort of thing. They weren't as bad as they could have been. They certainly, like, they could have come across, like, wildly out of touch. And they didn't, but it was just kind of like, and a lot of the reason I had it on was because I had them speaking French, too. But thank God there is an option to toggle them. I think if I hadn't been streaming the game, I probably would have turned them off after, like, level 2. Because I don't know, they were just kind of a dull gimmick. And it kind of felt self-congratulatory. Like, that was another thing where it was kind of like, again, there's not really much that makes this, like, the badges are really, like, the one thing, and, like, a small handful of the wonder effects really, like, shake up the gameplay of this. And even then, that's, like, the bare minimum. This is stuff that so many other games do so well, is, like, level gimmicks and, like, badge systems and power-ups and shit. And I would just love to see the Mario series, like, evolve in a really substantial way, rather than sitting there and doing a bunch of things that other platformers that don't nearly have the same resources as Nintendo have been doing for decades at this point. And, catching up to those people and patting themselves on the back and going, oh, we're going to have flowers standing around saying, oh, isn't this so wild and wacky and wonderful? Oh my God, this is so crazy. And it's like, it's New Super Mario Bros. Like 5. I don't know. Bella's saying, I think we may have had more fun with it off stream. That's entirely possible. It is. I mean, that's a consideration to take into with all these games, frankly. But I like to think that when I'm on stream, I try to just have a genuine experience with the game. I really try to kill that like I'm putting on a show, but like I really try to kill that like performative like instinct, I guess. Like playing a Sonic game, I don't fall into the like, oh, Sonic sucks, I just kind of play the fucking game, and others. I try to quell my quash. I try to quash my biases. Yeah, Nintendo as a whole kind of has a tendency to be self-congratulatory. That's entirely true. But like the thing that you gotta hand it to them. I can't talk. Is they do have a really high standard of quality. The games are always very well made, very well thought out. It's just that it feels sort of standard now, in a way where I would love for them to really significantly shake it up, not just like, flick the side of the bottle. Like grab it, pick it up, and shake it until it's full of like bubbles and shit. I don't know. Or just I might just stop playing Mario games. I don't know. I still feel as though if they made another 2D Mario game, even if I wasn't like wowed by the trailers, I would probably still play it. But it would kind of feel like I'm automatically playing it in a way. Anyway, WarioWare Move It. This was the WarioWare series is excellent. I think it's a series that I, as a kid, sort of thought like, oh, this probably isn't like considered like a mature, like grown-up game. This is a very like kiddie game. But I do remember enjoying it. But then as an adult, going back and playing WarioWare games, I'm like, these are like some of the fucking coolest video games ever made. And they're so funny and they're so like explosively creative. This particular one did kind of feel like a sequel to Smooth Moves, which it kind of was intended as like a spiritual successor in a lot of ways. it wasn't like trying to hide that fact or anything, but it just kind of had a sequel feel to it in the sense that, kind of like Mario Wonder, there wasn't anything in it that particularly wowed me as like something crazy to do. Although, you know, kind of shocking that we had a WarioWare game on the Switch that didn't have Joy-Con gimmicks before we had one that did. Like, if you know, of course, the Nintendo of the like Wii era would have just jumped on that, and in fact, they did with the Wiimote, and they made smooth moves. But it's kind of whack that there was one where it was like, oh yeah, it's kind of a weird platformer in Get It Together, and then Move It is finally the one that feels like a launch title, because it's like showing off like all these crazy things that you can do with the Joy-Cons. And there were some cool things, but there was nothing that really like blew my mind. It was just kind of like, yeah, I already know the Joy-Cons are pretty crazy controllers, like they can do some cool things. And there were some cool modes. It was a blast. I mean, I had a hoot playing it. Isabel and I played it more than we streamed it. Like, we did some stuff off stream. We did some stuff with some friends. It was a fun party game. It's really great, and they all have a really high standard of quality. There were some times that I felt the Joy-Cons weren't the most precise controller, but frankly, a lot of the time, when I fucked up, it kind of felt like it was on me. There were only a very few times when it felt like controller jank really got in the way. So it was a really cool game. I'd give it the classic. I mean, this 8.5 is my classic score for like a middle of the road, great Nintendo game that doesn't really do anything like super omega special that like knocks my socks off, but I had a great time playing it. I have very few complaints. It's another Nintendo game that felt kind of stale, but it's harder for WarioWare to feel stale because they're constantly making it's like a new set of mini games is just an entirely new set of experiences, especially when it's with a different control scheme. It was a really, really fun time. I don't know. Do you like how my tone of voice is so much more different? Like, really, really, I shouldn't give Mario Wonder an 8. Like, I should give it lower, because, like, really, when I think about how much I enjoyed that game, and these were both games that I played with Bella on stream, you know, and WarioWare was just so much, I have so much fonder memories of that, I feel, even though I had a good time with both, like, on paper. I don't know. Yeah, the infrared camera was pretty badass, but again, I don't see that as much as like a thing with the game necessarily as it is just like that's cool Joy-Con tech, which we already it's got slightly less impact because we've known that Joy-Cons can do this for years. Although I think a lot of people, possibly myself included, forgot that the Joy-Cons have infrared sensors in them, or maybe it's just one Joy-Con. Yeah, Move It was just awesome. So yes, would recommend. This would be a really fun game. I always thought like WarioWare Smooth Moves or this one would be really fun to play with like boomers. Like if you've got like, you know, family members who you think could maybe vibe with the sense of humor of WarioWare, it's really like they're quite easy to get into even if you're not a gamer, I would say. I guess I don't know that from experience because I've only ever played them as a gamer. But they seem like the kind of thing that is accessible. I don't know. Anyway, cool game. Both cool games. I just, yeah, I guess you can tell that I just had kind of negative feelings about, like, less about Mario Wonder as a specific game and more about a game in the context of all that surrounds it, you know? Anyway, we're going to do Pikmin 269. This is a fan hack. It's not actually, I'm saying incorrect information, but it's the original Pikmin was like a modding project made by Grapefruit fans mostly, and then this is like a follow-up to that was made, I think, roughly or maybe even exactly like 5 years later. I think they said they published it on the 5-year anniversary of like my stream of the first Pikmin. It was very, very cool. It was a highly ambitious project. I think making a full conversion for Pikmin 2 as a modding team is like a pretty insane goal. And I think there are some parts where, you know, it being a fan project, full conversion mod shows its there's sort of stretch marks on it, I guess. But overall, it was a really impressive, cool, funny experience. My main issue, I think, it even says ongoing here. No, I gave up. It got just like the original Pikmin, and like Pikmin, technically, it's like there's like a version called Pikmin and a version called Pikmin 2, I think, that are like different, have different things in them. I kind of don't remember perfectly what the situation was there. But all the versions of Pikmin kind of had this problem going through them, where they just got too hard for me, and I just simply struggled, and it got to the point where it was like quite frustrating, and trying on my patience. And I think a lot of that comes down to something that I've noticed in a lot of fan projects is like people who are huge fans of the game that they're modding aren't going to necessarily be the best judges of like how difficult something is, you know, because something that might seem trivial or normal difficulty to somebody who's played the hell out of Pikmin might be way too difficult for someone like me who hasn't really played very much Pikmin at all. I mean, I've played through all the games, most of them multiple times, but I don't necessarily feel like an expert, and I felt like there were a lot of parts in these in the later caves and stuff that just felt like what can I even fucking do? I mean, there was one floor in one cave that was like a troll floor, where it was like you were just supposed to tank a bunch of like damage to your party and then heal it up later. But even that notwithstanding, there were just a lot of parts that kind of dragged on. There were a lot of... The thing that I was the most impressed by in this mod was the levels themselves. I mean, some levels were just entirely new level geometry, and then others were sort of remixed forms of old levels, which was cool. And I was really impressed, particularly by the first level, and I think that there were a couple of levels that were like that kind of like remixed level geometry. Those, it just felt like, wow, I, a big Pikmin fan, get to just basically explore a whole new Pikmin area. The thing that they did with the Pikmin types was fucking crazy, how they just mixed up all their attributes and made this like completely different like ecosystem of Pikmin. That shit was so cool. That part really wowed me. Like the overall structure, the level geometry and stuff, and like all the cool little treasures that they made were very cool. I think there were a couple of things that I didn't really care for in terms of game mechanics. In some of the caves, they introduced the system where you need to find keys to open the pipe that exits the cave, and that shit was annoying over time. Like it was like, okay, this is a fine gimmick to use a little bit. But then near the end of the game, it was like your average cave is going to have like 25 fucking keys throughout it. And it was just like, what are we even doing? And like digging up, you know, you need to dig up like 8 keys on this floor to open the door to the next thing. And I'm like, what I like about, you know, bringing stuff back to my onion as in Pikmin is typically like getting cool treasures and not getting this same key over and over again. That just felt frustrating. And there was also that stupid fucking troll juice, and I'm well aware that with like a name like troll sauce or troll spray or whatever, it was like, oh, a bunch of the like nectar in the game has been replaced by this nectar that actively debuffs your Pikmin and makes them like way worse. That shit just, it was way too common, and I know that there was one of the sprays, and I know you can farm for the sprays to like cure it, but it's still, even when liberally using that spray, it just felt like a huge pain in the ass. And, you know, I say gave up here, but really what happened was I kind of lost enthusiasm to continue the game after like 75% of the way through or so. And then one of the devs hooked me up with a save file where I could go to a couple of the more interesting dungeons and do them, and do the final dungeon and shit. So that was very cool. And that was when I had the stockpiled sprays to work with. But even then, it kind of felt like there's just too much of this like troll juice. Like it just straight up shouldn't have been that common. It was just everywhere, and it was so hard to avoid. They also had the green Pikmin could go up and drink it without like there were multiple ways to counterplay it, because the green Pikmin could absorb it and not get like trollified, but it just felt like even if you're doing all those things to counteract it, it just comes down to like annoying, like tedious game mechanics. I don't know. Just that particular like sauce. I really enjoyed also the throwing, the like bombs and throwing. It was a little janky sometimes and like awkward picking up a bomb. Because you basically just have to like ram into it for like a full second, but you've got like a rounded hitbox, so you're gonna like slide off of it if you're not like perfectly dead on. That was a little frustrating sometimes, but that mechanic overall, replacing bitter spray, I thought was pretty sweet, and I really enjoyed the amount of like depth that brought to it. And frankly, I should have used that more too. They really did shower you with sprays a lot in this too, so. They did make like conscious efforts to like kind of balance it. I just felt that at the end I was just frustrated, and that's why I kind of gave up. But it was a very cool, very admirable fan project. I would say, I don't know, I would say like check it out, but only if you're ready to experience some like pretty hardcore Pikmin gameplay. Like, pick this up if you're looking for a challenge and also a laugh, because there is humor. It's comedic. One of the treasures is Doug Dimmadome, and his hat like stretches way up further than it's possible to even fucking see. There's little shit like that. All the little treasures that had like unique models were really funny and cool. I don't know. I kind of feel like I want to put like a yes asterisk here. Let's do that. And my level of enjoyment, I'll give it like 7.5. Let's give it like a 7.5. I don't know. It was very cool, but it's hard to give a game like full marks when you didn't even really want to finish it. The things that I liked about it, I really did like about it though. Okay, Smash Remix. This is another fan-made hack. Fans of Smash Brothers, not fans of the stream at all. This was kind of fucking nuts, actually. To those of you who don't know, this is a mod for Super Smash Brothers Original on the N64, and it is like a massive expansion for the game that adds a ton of characters and a ton of stages and a ton of music and like a ton of little tweaks to Smash 64 to make it a little more palatable. I don't think the original 12 characters were changed in any way, but like they just added a bunch of new ones, a bunch of really cool new ones that kind of felt like maybe there's a couple exceptions, but they mostly feel like they're plucked from that time period, you know, like Wario is in here, and all his moves, it's not like Brawl Wario where he's got his biker costume on. It's like based on the Wario Land series, so he's got his shoulder charge and he comes in on an airplane and stuff like that, and there's a lot of like really cute little details that I think really make the retro feel of it. Like it all feels so cohesive. Like there's fucking like Dark Samus and a couple like little shitposty things. They're not even shitposty, but like anachronisms technically, but for the most part it feels really cool and retro. They got like Goemon and Ibisumaru and fucking Conker and Banjo and Kazooie. Lots of really cool stuff. The movesets are well thought out, in my opinion. I'm not like a super pro Smash player or anything, but I felt that they were fun and interesting and varied, and they made really good use of this fucking... Really, this is a very exemplary fan project. Like, as fan projects go, it was like, what the fuck? They really cooked with this. Super high quality. I loved that the options menu has like fucking 10 pages of settings that you can change of just like all sorts of different things. And there's a bunch of alternate versions of the characters. There's some cool joke characters and boss characters like the Mad Piano in there. This shit is just great. Yeah, the fucking King Dedede is in there. Really, really, really fucking cool. And it's kind of mind-blowing that they, like, I figure modding an N64 game is, like, not particularly easy. I'm not basing that off of any real world knowledge. I just figure that like the further back you go, the harder it is to do that, and I think they did a really good job with it. There were some times where it felt like the game was a little crusty performance-wise, and there were some times where it felt like it was eating my inputs. I think buffering is like a setting in the settings, and I don't remember how we had it set when we were playing it, but it kind of had, in a similar way, like people like me who played a lot of Brawl and Smash 4 and Ultimate, going back to Melee and original Smash Bros is sometimes it can feel like the game is just eating your inputs, sometimes when really it's just there's not a lot of buffering and it requires more precision with your inputs. So maybe that's just on me, but I kind of there were some times where I was like, what the fuck, game? But overall it was a very, very fun experience. I'm actually shocked that Bella and I have not played more of this. We should. Hun, if you're listening, we should. It was very, very fun, very cool, very well made, very cute. And I think, I don't know, are they still adding stuff to it? Do we know, I guess maybe people don't actually have info on this in the chat necessarily, but as far as I know, I think they're probably still adding shit every once in a while. You think they're done? Oh, maybe they're done. Maybe they're done. And also just like, man, the sheer amount of like cool stages and shit in this is so cool too. It was really awesome, actually. I don't know. 8.5? I put that here. And the conditional formatting's not going to work because I copy pasted that in there. Yes, I would recommend. The one thing is I guess it's because I had like Project 64 and then I streamed and I showed my like toolbar at the bottom of the screen and people were like, "Ayo, he's got Project 64. That's like a vulnerable thing. You can get hacked through Project 64. It's got like a big vulnerability." So I don't have it anymore. The last thing they released so far is a video on cut content. That makes sense. That would seem like they're winding down. Okay, let me just take a little drink of water. We haven't really even got that many games done yet, and I've been going for 45 minutes. Holy shit. Wow. All right. There's some later ones where I'm going to have less to say. Okay, Heaven Studio. This shit is fucking mental. I mean, I explain it here, but it's a little more of an editing tool than it is a game. But I would lump it along with Rhythm Heaven Remix Editor as a really good tool for, and both of these have like a playable aspect, of course. These have both been huge for my fucking hyperfixation on Rhythm Heaven. They have fed it so much. I've been just like in the past few weeks, I've just been like passively generating new Rhythm Heaven remixes and just sort of like quietly publishing them on Discord and just like moving on because it's just fun. It's just fun to mess around with, and it's Heaven Studio in particular. Like Rhythm Heaven Remix Editor already kind of opened the door for people to like make Rhythm Heaven remixes even if they don't have a huge amount of like modding experience or whatever. But Heaven Studio is like holy shit. And what we currently have is like the 1.0 version and the nightly version. And the 1.0 version has, I think, roughly 50 mini games, and then the nightly version maybe has like 70 or 80. But the nightly version is also, it's constantly under work, and there are little things that break about it every once in a while. I've been using the nightly version just for what it's worth. And it's a very fun and cool and interesting editor system. It's pretty straightforward. It doesn't really take a genius to figure out how to work it. Like, really the big thing that you got to get past is like setting the tempo for your song and doing tempo changes and the switch game like nodule. And then, like, basically you're good. And then you can cook forever. And there's so much really sophisticated stuff in here. One of the more recent ones they added in the nightly was Built to Scale Wii, which has, like, a whole system where you, like, attribute an ID to the rods that are bouncing around so that you can, like, know which one you want to shoot with the B button. Very cool stuff. Lots of great customization. The overall, like, quality of it is amazing, and it's so cool because you can go on the Discord. At one point I went on the Discord and I was kind of like, hey, does this specific minigame have like this specific kind of feature, or could somebody like add that? And somebody was like, yeah dude, I'll just like hop on and add that, and they did, and then I was able to use it in a remix like 2 days later. It was kind of wild. Just the other day they also added frog hop. Huge. And they added frog hop with the ability to lip sync the blue frog, which is fucking incredible. Hello, Shu. What are you doing, buddy? That's a weird way to sit. Sometimes he sits in a really weird way. I kind of hope he does it so I can show it off. Look at him yawning. Oh, what a cutie. Totally made me lose my train of thought. Heaven Studio is very clean. It's got lots of cool customization. The way recently, also another thing that they added was in built to scale. There's this little slider where you can built to scale DS. There's this little slider where you can like change the notes of the particular like piano notes. Go dun 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 dun. They made it so it actually plays the note out loud when you try to like select it, so you can just tone them by ear. It's so cool. He's going nuts right now. If he starts sucking his dick, I will have to turn off the roach cam, though. He's kind of in that area. Sometimes he does self-fillet, and it's a whole thing. Look at him chomping his leggy. Look at his dumb foot. Oh, my God. His big dumb leggy. His little kangaroo leg. Oh, my God. He's so cute. He does. He sucks his own dick sometimes, and it's kind of funny, but like, not only TOS, but also like we gotta respect his privacy. I would feel weird showing live footage of him sucking his own dick, and we all sit here and laugh and go, ew, you know. That would just feel wrong. Yeah, pitch shifting for rockers is kind of fucking insane. That's one that I don't know. I wonder if they added that same functionality in where you can like hear the notes as you're adjusting them, because I had to do that shit basically by trial and error in a couple of early like Heaven Studio remixes, and it was kind of a pain in the ass, but they said they were working on it. So, you know. Heaven Studio, fantastic. And also it's got the, you know, just like Polyrhythm Mania and Rhythm Heaven Remix Editor also technically had this, but like who was actually out here downloading RHRE files to actually play along with? Like, I feel like that was a very underutilized function of it. But Polyrhythm Mania has like this thing where you can just go around and find levels that people made for it. And I had fun enough with that with Polyrhythm Mania, which is a single mini game. So imagine how much more, it's like exponentially more fun when you've got a lot of the mini games. I mean, really, I've seen a list of like the remaining mini games to be added, and it's so small. They've really got most of them now, and like some weird ones too. Like they brought in a lot of the endless mini games recently. They brought in Chameleon and Basketball Girls and Frog Princess from the endless remix in Rhythm Heaven Fever, which is hilarious. And Charging Chicken from Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix was added, which is like, that feels like a joke pick, basically. Very, very cool. Oh, I skipped right over Kuru. Why did I do that? I'm sure chat, like, was like, why do you skip it? But weird. I'm, like, looking back in chat to see if anybody even, like, pointed that out. I'm sure someone did. Anyway, Heaven Studio is fucking awesome. And I recommend it to anybody who's really interested in Rhythm Heaven. The one thing is that I would not advise that you check this out if you haven't already played all 4 Rhythm Heaven games. Or at least, I don't know. The thing is, just if there's mini games that come up that you don't know how to play, it's going to be kind of hard maybe sometimes to figure out what to do. Some of them I'm sure it's going to be easy to figure out, but some of them it's a little obtuse. So you might at least have a rough time going in if you don't have experience with all 4 of the games because you just don't know how the mini games play. You could just brute force it and just be like, I'll just learn as I go and figure it out. And I'm sure like the Discord would be happy to help and such, but that's something to consider. And also, you know, if you're just making remixes just to make a fun little like Rhythm Heaven music video, basically, and and you don't even need to worry about playing it, then have a blast, because it's so fucking good. Anyway, 9.5. One of the coolest fucking... I mean, there's a lot of cool fan projects. Fucking Pikmin, Heaven Studio, Strawberry Jam was kind of recent, Smash Remix. So much cool stuff in the world of fan games recently. But Heaven Studio really knocks my socks off. And, like, the fact that the Nightly is getting games so consistently is incredible to me, because I've talked about it before, it's kind of my own Smash Brothers, it's like seeing who's going to get added to Smash Brothers, basically, except it's like every week or so. It's like, oh, here's this like highly beloved minigame that's been added in with like perfect functionality, and you can lip sync the frog. I can't wait to remake my old remixes and do a bunch of the stuff that I wanted to do back then but wasn't able to do, because there's literally a part in my first remix where I wanted to make the frog sing, and I like tried to do it with video editing trickery, and I was like, this just isn't gonna work. But now it'll be easy with Heaven Studio. It'll be easy. Did they add Bouncy Road yet? Bouncy Road is in there. Yeah. It came in a recent Nightly. Some of the games that are in there at time of speaking are like, they have the functionality, they have the game, they have the inputs and everything, but the sprites haven't been like redrawn, which is where it's like kind of like a, you know, I think everybody working on Heaven Studio kind of knows they're like, at any point Nintendo could just contact us and tell us to stop, because they are kind of just taking the sprites and tracing over them, you know, and taking the ideas for the games and such. Obviously, it kind of feels like I don't want to jinx it, you know, knock on wood, but the possibility of them getting cease and desisted, I feel like, is kind of low, because it seems like Nintendo doesn't give much of a shit about Rhythm Heaven anymore. It kind of seems like they're done with it. So, you know, it is a little bit precarious. But yeah, it's low key. It's kind of, I feel like Heaven Studio has kind of popped off on TikTok. This is what I've heard, at least on the Discord, is that they TikTok has just taken it and gone mental with it, and there's like a ton of people making Rhythm Heaven edits of their favorite songs, and doing like the crazy, like, you know, TikTok-esque like visual effects and sweeping camera movements and stuff. Take another sip here. And one thing that I think has been very wise from the devs of Heaven Studio is they distinctly discourage people from just remaking levels or remixes that exist in the actual games. Like the mini games they can port over, but like they don't really, they really discourage people just going, oh, you know, I made Chorus Boys using Chorus Boys, you know, because and it's kind of pointless to do that too. Like, I get why, but I also think, you know, that would be something where if one of Nintendo's beady-eyed, knuckle-dragging lawyers saw, they might be like, oh shit, like this is just an alternative way to play the game that we already sell. Okay, anyway. Kururin. This was a huge, like, sleeper hit for me. I was not expecting to love this game as much as I did, but it was extremely fun. Playing it on, yeah, I mean, I know, guys, I know they don't sell Rhythm Heaven games now, but, you know, I am speaking from the perspective of the beady-eyed, knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing Nintendo lawyers. Kuru was fucking awesome. This is a GBA game, that, if you don't know what this is, and perhaps you've played Super Smash Bros. Brawl in a casual sense before, that one assist trophy that shows up that's like a blue and yellow line that just like slowly rotates and acts as a wall on the stage, that is from this game. That is the protagonist of this game. This is like a precision, like thread the needle kind of game, I guess I would say, where you play as a rotating thing and you have to navigate these like tight mazes of obstacles, while, you know, bouncing off of springs to change the direction that you're rotating in, or speeding up or slowing down according to how the obstacles are moving, squeezing through tiny little gaps. It's a very like balletic movement. It's so fucking fun. It is unbelievably fun. It is an irritating stick-like game. Exactly. It was actually shockingly fun. I think in a weird way, if you enjoy Monkey Ball, you might enjoy Kururin. It's a very different kind of gameplay, I guess, but it's got that same kind of like it kind of gets in your head, and you like, at least for me, I kind of like obsess about like doing cool things in the game, which I think is an indicator of a cool, unique movement system. One of the things I really admire about this game is just that, like, you can say it's like irritating stick, I guess, but it's really unlike anything I've ever fucking played before. It feels like a Nintendo Flash game or something, where it's like somebody had a really cool idea, and then, but it also like, it's got that production value, you know. It's very well made. It's not like I don't think this is like made by the same people who make fucking Super Mario Brothers, but it's a Nintendo game, and it was so good. It was so fucking good. Yeah, it's kind of like Operation if it was fun. Yeah. So huge recommend. Like, seriously, even if you're sitting there thinking, this doesn't sound that fun to me, try it. It's on fucking NSO if you have NSO. It's so fucking fun. I could not believe how much I enjoyed this game. Like a 9, or like, I'll give it a 9. 9 feels fair. Some parts of it were frustrating, I guess, and there were some levels that were annoying. You know, the ones that are just gigantic, long mazes, where it's kind of unclear where to go, and there's a bunch of tight little spaces to squeeze through. It could get a little frustrating sometimes, but really it wasn't. It wasn't that crazy, and it had a bunch of fun little challenge bonus levels, too, for you to get, like, gold stars on for, like, not taking damage. It was all just very cool. Yeah, I guess Roundabout is a Kururin type game. I have not played that. I would like to play it at some point. I know about that game. A lot of people, recommended that to me after I made that video. Okay, now on to Half-Life Source. This was a bad experience, I think. It's a version of Half-Life that is ported over from... They basically took all the stuff inside Half-Life 1 and plopped it into the Source engine of Half-Life 2. And there's a lot of friction in that plop. There's like a lot of bugs that have been amassed over the years. Apparently, when it was first released, it wasn't very buggy, but then as Source Engine got updated over time, there was just so little maintenance on Half-Life Source that it didn't really keep up. And so playing it nowadays is kind of a miserable experience. There's just a lot of bugs, and some of the bugs are funny. And definitely, like, you know, it's interesting to look at and be like, OMG, look how broken this is. But there were a lot of bugs that were just genuinely annoying or bad, or just a ton, like a million little things that were like subtly off about the game feel of Half-Life, which Half-Life 1 is a game that feels pretty great, in my opinion. And then Half-Life Source is just, frankly, kind of an objectively worse way to play it. It was mildly interesting. It honestly wasn't even, like, I kind of wanted to play it as like, this will be like an interesting jaunt into this like glitchy bad port of it that we can all laugh at. But it ended up just being kind of miserable. It wasn't even very funny to play through. And that's really like the most damning thing you can say about a game that is known for being a glitchy mess. And Half-Life 1 is a glitchy mess, but Half-Life 1 is like glitchy in a much more like fun way too. Half-Life Source is delisted nowadays, by the way. I heard that it won't show up in like Half-Life collections, but you can still search for it. Hold on, let me open Steam actually and try to search for it. Maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe my perspective is skewed because I already own it on Steam. But yeah, it's not getting a recommend from me. Let me search it, just out of curiosity. Load, please. Half-Life Source. It didn't come up in the little thing. No, it's like just straight up not even on here. That's fucking crazy. I thought what I heard was that it got like pushed to the bottom of like the recommends for Half-Life related shit. Somebody in chat is saying it's still there. I don't see it here. I see Deathmatch Source. But I don't see Half-Life Source. Well, whatever. It's Nintendo. Nintendo. Valve is not endorsing it anymore. They like when they did the 25th anniversary update to Half-Life 1, they were like, we're pushing this under the rug. We're basically not recommending this to the consumers anymore. So, I don't know. I would give playing this like a 6. It's still got some of the enjoyability of Half-Life, but like not nearly. Oh, no. Not nearly as enjoyable as actual Half-Life. Like, really, that 6 is just stuff that's carried over from the original Half-Life that didn't get totally ruined. Oh my god, Shu, you are so damn cute. Yeah, I can access the store page by looking at the game in my library. I remember doing that. Because I still have it. Half-Life Source. Go to the page. Store page. Steam's being wicked slow for me right now. I don't know why. Mixed reviews. Yeah, and it says here you can buy it, so maybe you could navigate in the oh, notice. It says here, highlighted in orange. Notice, at the request of the publisher, Half-Life Source is unlisted on the Steam store and will not appear in search. So what I'm taking that to mean is it's still here, but it literally won't show it to you in searches at all. And you can buy it if you literally like enter in the URL into Steam, basically. Anyway, I managed to find it through the Valve Mega Bundle. Oh, huh. Anyway, look at him. Look at his dumb little ears. Oh my god, Shu. I love when he dangles his nose and look at his little whiskers twitching. Okay, anyway, yeah, Half-Life Source, it's like, it's really not even worth playing to make fun of, which is truly depressing. Anyway, Fury Demake, this was, and it, as I explain here, but the text kind of goes off screen, you guys can't read it. I was unsure. There were parts of this game that seemed to indicate that it was the first entry in like a series of little mini fights. It's basically Fury, you know, is a boss rush game where you fight a bunch of different bosses. This demake is the first boss. Although he's, you know, in Fury he's quite easy because he's the tutorial boss, but in this one he was a lot harder because I think it's presupposing that you have knowledge about the game already. And it's like a 2D, like OMG so retro kind of thing. It was honestly really competently made, and I enjoyed playing it, and when I was done I was kind of like, man, I wish there were more of these. And it, like I said, there were some things, I feel like on the title screen or maybe on Steam, it said like Fury Demake like episode 1 or something. So I don't know, maybe they're going to make more of these. It kind of, if I had to guess, I would say they're probably not gonna, because Fury is already such a lesser known, it's really not a very popular game. Even kind of as indie games go, which is a bit of a crime. It's like critically acclaimed, but it's you don't really hear people talk about it very much, which is a damn shame. And even this demake was good. It was just a fun adaptation of the abilities that you have in the game into a 2D platformer battle. It was enjoyable. It had good music. I think my biggest complaint would be that it only had one song playing throughout, and it didn't have any kind of like dynamic music element like the actual game does. The music got pretty old by the time I was done with it. That was one thing I wish the music did a little something more than just play the same chip tune unaltered the entire time. But it was fun. I don't know. It's really not a super substantial thing, but if you're a fan of Fury, maybe check it out. It's free. So recommend, I don't know. Again, like when you're thinking about the score here, I'm not saying that this is like worth exactly the same or worth more than Mario Wonder or whatever, but this is just how much fun I had with it. 8.5. Inoffensive, cool, well made. Minimal problems. Okay. We're getting close to like the actual substantial chunk of games that I want to review today. We got fucking Shoot the Bullet here. I guess I just barely didn't do that one. And then I might not get to these today, frankly. Couple of Ace Attorneys, One Shot, and Undertale Yellow. I guess I could just give my general feelings right now and then elaborate later. Look at you, Shu. Oh my god, look at you. Wow, so cool. Show us your cool big ears. What is he thinking about, do you think? What the fuck could he possibly be thinking about in that tiny little brain of his? Whoa. Whoa. He's in his tube. I don't know if I'll do much like dynamic camera movements here, but you'll just have to... Oh, maybe this is a good opportunity. Hold on. I'll get the poop out of there. Vacuum noise incoming. This is my time. He's left himself wide open. Let's just, there he is in a tube with his tail sticking out. All right, go, go, go. Get in there with the vacuum. Hello. Okay. Should be good now. Okay. Oh. Somebody said thank you so much, whoever gifted me a sub to the greatest fruit of all time. Well, I think it's pretty likely that that was the 100 fucking gift subs that we got the other day during a Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom stream, and I looked. I don't think that person said anything in chat after they did that. Does anybody know that guy? I think their name was like 40,000 or something. They don't need to say anything, but it was just kind of wild. I wondered if maybe they were I wondered if they were maybe a dev of the game or something. They said something. I didn't see them say anything. Huh. But that might be where you got one, because just the other day we got a fuck ton of subs just kind of out of nowhere. And a lot of people were like, ah, yes, I've dodged another one, which is hilarious. Anyway, let's get my train of thought back. Shu has gone back into his house. He, like, very suddenly jumped out of the tube. Look at him, he's so bashful. Basic feelings on these. Apollo Justice was very cool. It kind of felt like DLC for the original trilogy. I liked it quite a bit. It had a few annoying parts. Dual Destinies was kind of a significant step down, and I felt like it wasn't as good as the original trilogy or Great Ace Attorney. But it was still fun. There were a bunch of things in the story of this that really annoyed me, though. One Shot I did not really care for. It just didn't glom with me. Undertale Yellow was enjoyable, but really not... It was done a big disservice by the constant comparison in my head of thinking about this in relation to actual Undertale. It felt like... How could it possibly live up to Undertale? And it didn't. But it was still cool. It was still really, really cool. There were a lot of things I really enjoyed about it. So if you're curious about my thoughts on those games, there you go. Okay, are we... Let me just go, take it from the top. All this is done. Okay, what's this? End Is Nigh. End Is Nigh was fun. It was a very cool, hard platformer, as you would expect. It's kind of a spiritual successor to Super Meat Boy, but it also had a different control scheme that was enjoyable and unique in its own way, kind of centered around, like, ledge hanging in a strange way. I don't think this was as fun as Super Meat Boy for me, and there were a lot of aspects of this game that kind of just felt like Edmund McMillen doing standard Edmund McMillen kind of stuff. There was also the cutscenes and the voice acting. So the voice of the main character of The End Is Nigh is provided by Rich Evans of Red Letter Media fame. And the recording was like, the quality of the voice recording was like awful, like really, really bad. And it was shocking to me. And it's like, yeah, there's every time I mention that fact, there's always a few people in chat being like, what the actual fuck? And like, yeah, he's in the credits. Rich Evans and Jack Packard are both in the credits for that game. I felt that, like, it was really weird because it was like Rich Evans, like, works with audio equipment in his job. Like, not only does he do, like, Red Letter Media stuff, but he's been in their little movies. He was in Space Cop. Like, he does that. I don't remember what it's called, but he does a gaming, like, Let's Play kind of show with Jack Packard. Shouldn't he know how to fucking record voice lines for something? And then shouldn't Edmund know how to, like, mix those lines in his game so they don't sound like trash? But, like, that was one part that was, like, really shockingly bad. But I enjoyed the overall vibe. I enjoyed the soundtrack was kind of based around, like, classical music. I thought that was an interesting take. It was fun. The music was good. The platforming was satisfying. There were a lot of parts that kind of felt like just in Super Meat Boy, I went for Golden God because the game was so fun and, like, bursting with personality, and, like, most of the levels were enjoyable. But I had no desire to go for completion in The End Is Nigh. It just was like, once I was done, I was like, okay, get me out of here. You know, as much as I enjoyed it, it really didn't keep my enthusiasm up for the, like, ultra difficult platforming. It scratched an itch. Like, I enjoy the ultra difficult platformers with lots of spikes and shit, but there were a lot of parts that were just annoying, and there was just something about it, something about the way you, like, unlock things in that game just was not as compelling for me to go for full clearing. I'm gonna have more water, Jesus. $40,000 only said the word nipples, and that's all that they said. Cool. I hate to sound, like, super paranoid, but whenever I get, like, a big, like, bit donation or a big, like, gift sub thing, I always think in my head, I imagine this situation where that's, like, some, like, drop shipper or something, or, like, some scammer who's, like, sitting there watching the stream and is like, oh, I'm just gonna, like, dump some of this, like, crime money, basically, or, like, scam money into this. I don't know, because it feels like, why would somebody donate that much money if they weren't being, like, frivolous with, like, I don't know. Is that a weird thing to think? It's hard for me to just assume, yeah, money laundering. I don't know. Some people are saying maybe the microphone was shitty on purpose. I could see that argument because he's supposed to be like a Let's Player, but I mean, there's lots of parts where he's not. There's only one scene where he's actually doing the, like, Let's Play bit, and it was not like your joke, like, shitty mic. Like, I feel like, and I guess slight ear warning, this is like the fucking, this is what you expect from, like, a really shitty microphone. Oh, stereotypically. But Rich Evans was like talking like this. It was just like he was, like, too far away and you couldn't understand what he was saying, and I had to, like, turn the volume way up. You know? It was like a very, it didn't feel like a joke, frankly. Anyway, it was good. I'd give this game, like, an 8. It really wasn't anything, it wasn't a revelation. I would say if you enjoyed Super Meat Boy, you'd probably enjoy this. But it was another thing that kind of felt like it was maybe retreading old ground, like, the idea of this kind of game is getting stretched a bit thin. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Fun game, though. Definitely a fun platformer. Okay, Celeste 64, speaking of fun platformers, I've been playing so many damn good platformers lately. So much, like, random, like, indie crap. Even this, Celeste 64, which was, like, a joke thing, kind of. It was, like, a joke that they made good because they can't make a bad game, apparently. This was, I don't think this was released on April Fool's Day, but it was, like, again, I don't remember what the context was. Maybe it was a game jam. This was a 3D, I believe this is Extremely OK Games' first venture into, like, 3D gaming, and it's just a 3D version of Celeste. It's really just based around the first area of the game and some little side challenges, but it was a decent amount of content. I mean, it took me, like, 2.5, maybe 3 hours to play through the whole thing. I think they did about as good a job as you possibly can of translating Celeste's mechanics into 3D, which they don't really work perfectly in 3D. Like, there are some things where it's just, like, not built for that, but I think they did a great job. They made a bunch of little, like, weird adjustments to how the game is played to make it work in 3D. Everything looked great. It had great music. The bonus levels, the bonus stages were really fucking cool and fun and funny, and it was funny that they were parodying the Super Mario Sunshine bonus levels. That kind of never got old, at least as long as I played it. It was just a fun little, a lovely little treat for Celeste fans. Like, holy shit. What an enjoyable thing. And I found that it never got really too difficult for me. There were some parts that were hard, but not like in Celeste Strawberry Jam, there were some parts that I found like unbearably hard, and that was like halfway through the overall like difficulty curve of the game. Celeste 64 was enjoyable all the way through. It was a really cool little side project, and yet another thing that made me look forward to this studio's next project. 8.5. Let's move on. Are we finally at the big chunk? Yes, we're at the big chunk. Okay, and I'm going to skip over Silent Hill 2 because that is currently ongoing, technically. That's another one that it has been months since I have streamed it, but I am going to do that soon. I genuinely am. Yeah, and Celeste 64 is canon. It's supposed to be a dream, I think, that Madeline is having. I had a wild dream last night. I know I talk sometimes about, like, nobody cares about your dreams, but I had a dream that was, like, basically like I was in, like, a shonen anime kind of, like, situation, or, like, the story structure of, like, a shonen. It was like me and a bunch of like other people in like some kind of like school or class or something in this like horror jungle where it was like a super muddy, horrific jungle where like all this like scary shit kept happening. I don't remember the details of it very much, but it was one of those dreams where like I woke up and I was like, I feel like I just lived an entire life in my sleep, you know? Those kinds of dreams are so trippy. Are you going to restart the playthrough of Silent Hill 2? I don't think so, no. But I'll refresh myself in some way. Danganronpa. It was kind of Danganronpa-esque, yeah. You know what? Maybe before I even get to that, I kind of want to nail out Shoot the Bullet here. This was, it's like the 9.5th Toho game or something. And it was a photography game where instead of shooting bullets out of your character, you shoot, open quote, like take pictures of enemy bullet patterns, and like the more bullets you get in the picture, the higher the score, and a bunch of other little things. It was a very interesting sort of side mode. I found it very frustrating and difficult, frankly. It was like significantly more frustrating and difficult than other Toho games, which are already pretty difficult, infamously. It was a very cool idea, but there was a certain point where I was just like, I just gotta stop, basically. It was really cool and really creative. I have a soft spot for this game, even though I gave up on it. It really kind of wowed me just by being kind of original and cool, and restructuring the whole concept of like a bullet hell in general. It was very neat. But it was also kind of frustrating. The patterns just got really hard at a certain point, to the point where I was like, I'm dying way too much for this to be fun for me. So this is another one where like I'd recommend, but only if you're looking for a challenge. Today I'm doing a lot of qualifiers on these, which I feel like I don't typically do. So maybe, I don't know. It's like the parts that I played I really liked, but then it got bad. It got too frustrating. I give it like a 7.5. But very, very cool. Oven Goats, I completely agree. Shu is so sweet. Literally every day, Isabel and I like look at him and just go, can you believe how fucking adorable this guy is? We can't believe it. Every day we get up, we look at him, we can't believe our luck, because he's just so cute. Look at how he rests on his tiny little peat. Look at his big bushy tail. I was thinking recently, he's basically a cross between a squirrel and a rabbit. I used to say it was like, oh, between like a mouse and a rabbit, but he's got like some squirrely kind of qualities. His tail is very squirrely, and his little hands and just his mannerisms, kinda. But he's got big bunny butt and big bunny ears. What a guy. Anyway, let's talk Silent Hill, baby. This game, I was kind of surprised at how much I enjoyed this game. I went into this game thinking that it was kind of with this feeling that I was just playing it like out of obligation, because I was like, oh, you know, I want to play Silent Hill 2. It's like a really hyped up, like highly beloved game. Everybody says, oh, you got to play Silent Hill 2. So I was like, I feel like I don't want to just jump in, even though I know it's kind of an anthology series. I don't want to just jump in, so I'll play Silent Hill 1 first, but it's going to kind of feel like homework. And then playing it, I was actually kind of like, this is awesome. I was shocked at how much I liked it. I think a lot of my enjoyment, to be fair, was kind of in a OMG so retro, how cute kind of way, like when I'm playing Half-Life 1. I think we're kind of, nostalgia kind of goes in a wave, right? Where it's like 20 or so years after, it's like people are nostalgic for the things, and this is, you know, people are nostalgic for anything, but there's this big wave of nostalgia that like follows culture, and especially video games, I've noticed, that lags about 20 years behind. So this whole era of like early 3D, low polygonal, floating point error kind of graphics, it's very like, aw, like look at that, that's so cool, this is such a nice aesthetic, you know. So in a lot of ways, Silent Hill is kind of adorable from a modern perspective, but in a really cool way. And there was a lot of one thing that I really wasn't expecting was a lot of cool like pre-rendered 3D art. So there's little like videos where it's clear that, you know, it's just compressed, like it's still 3D animated, but it's done in that way where they did it in a different program or software that has much higher graphical capabilities and then just compressed it down to a video file, basically. Those look really fucking good. There's still images and there's video that they made using that whatever, I don't know what the fuck software they used to make that, but those look shockingly fucking good for PS1 era 3D graphics. Like, I could not believe how like normal and human they made some of the actions of the characters look. Like, that just must have taken a back-breaking, like mind-blowing amount of effort to do before we had, oh, look at his little Pete's. Before we had things like motion capture, you know. I gotta blow my nose, 1 second. Did he do a little yawn? That's awesome. I missed it, but I'm glad you guys got to see it. He's amazing. He's just amazing. Right now he's eating dream cheese. He's like half asleep and his little mouth is just chewing on something invisible. Oh, I must clean my butt. Ooh. Oh, my butt has a little spot of dirt I got to clean. Oh. What a guy. Anyway, where was I? He keeps making me lose my train of thought. Silent Hill 1 was very cool. There were definitely a lot of parts of it that were kind of frustrating, but I was shocked at how much I was able to just get through the game like without a guide. There were some parts where I had to go to a guide for some puzzles that like didn't really make sense to me, or I didn't notice something. But there were a lot of parts where it was like the game expects you to like intuit like the layout of a certain area or whatever, or like a path to go to. Oh, I sleep. And I was actually able to intuit it, and that's not something that like a lot of games, like I feel like a lot of games like this, I go into it expecting to like get stuck a lot, and I was shocked at how smoothly Silent Hill went down. It was actually quite a good experience. And you know, there's different endings in the game, and there's like little side quest stuff that I did not find on my own, but it was pretty cool. It was pretty fucking cool. I liked a lot of the little puzzles. It was shocking how like satisfying and cool they were to solve. It was overall just a great game, and it had a really, of course, it's got a really great sort of concept. It's got a great visual style. The famous trait of this game is the fog. That was famously a technical limitation that sort of became a strength of the game. That's such a beautiful story of like stumbling upon this method for making something scarier that was originally like a bad thing. They sort of turned around and made it a good thing. Very cool stuff. Very cool game. It's rough around the edges. There were some parts where I got stuck. There were some parts that had kind of frustrating bosses or combat or like awkward. I think a lot of the bosses are very awkward to fight, but not in a way that really ruins the experience. Like it's just in kind of a way where you feel disempowered, basically. There was one part of the game where on emulator it like soft locked or something, and I had to reload an old save. And apparently that was like a known bug. That part wasn't so fun. So if you're emulating this, I guess there's that to think about. It was like on the Ferris wheel fight, or the carousel fight, and I was playing on Duck Station. And I don't know if the error happens on other emulators or what, but that's something to consider if you're emulating it. I also played it with scan lines. I kind of don't regret doing that, although the scan lines made the footage look very weird on certain monitors because of the way it got scaled down. But that was a fun experience too. That was something that DuckStation allows you to do, is just like slap some filters on to make it look a little bit more like it would have looked on the visual, the screen technology of the time. That was an enjoyable experience. It was, it was nostalgic. I mean, I think this game probably came out. When did Silent Hill 1 come out? It's probably like just around the time that I was born, right? Silent Hill 1 release date. 1999. So I was like 3 when this came out. But it still felt deeply nostalgic to me, even though I didn't play it as a kid. It just had that quality to it. And it's got really cool atmosphere, really cool music too. It's you can't overlook the soundtrack of Silent Hill games. Akira Yamaoka is just a fucking genius. So many great songs. I think in a weird way, if you enjoy the music of Twin Peaks, I think you might enjoy a lot of Silent Hill music. It's got that same kind of like strange otherworldly quality to it. It's very, very cool. I don't know what score I would give it, though. This is really hard to say. I would say recommend, definitely. I'll give it like an 8.5, because there were a lot of aspects of it where it showed its age, and there were frustrating parts, there were weird, sort of obtuse parts. Really, the bosses, the bosses kind of sucked. Even though a lot of them, it was like they went down easy, they still felt like they sucked. There were rough parts, but a lot of stuff to love, I think. Okay, Silent Hill 2, I'll wait until I beat that game to give my opinion on it. Mosa, this game, as all of you know probably, fucking blew my mind. It's so fun and cool, and I played it so many times. How many fucking hours do I got in Mosa at this point? Let me look on Steam. It's still being so slow. Mosa. Like over 100. 113 hours on this little $5 fucking game. This is a puzzle platformer immersive sim in spirit. That is all about solving small problems with randomized tools. It's got this really great sort of vibe to it, just in terms of the presentation, the visuals, the music. Everything's very satisfying. The sound effects are so satisfying. The level design is very thoughtful while also kind of exploring this weird middle ground. This is something that Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy kind of dipped its toes in too. Is like the idea, I love this idea of games where the person making it didn't necessarily make this challenge with the way that you beat it in mind, Like really organic puzzles. And that stuff is so fascinating and so satisfying to me. Getting really good at using the tools in this game was such a satisfying experience. all the different little weird interactions that they have. Like, they're all so simple on the surface and then have some kind of like hidden complexity to them. It's very, very fun and very cool and absorbing and addicting and atmospheric and well crafted. I see no faults in this game. And you know what? They updated the game a few times and like added some stuff that I was not a huge fan of, and then they made a final update that like struck a bunch of the dumb stuff from the record and made it just a setting that you can toggle in the settings if you want it back. And basically, like, it was like they overextended, and then in the final patch they were like, nah, we're gonna make it so that these things, you know, the stuff that we overextended with is no longer standard in the package. You have to turn that on specifically for you to play it. I thought that was so fucking cool. That was such a respectable move from the developer. And it was like, they fought back against like bloat, basically. So cool. So fucking cool. Yeah, more people still need to stream this. I would love to see Northern Lion play it, but if he hasn't played it by now, he probably never will. And Vinny said he like streamed it a couple times and he was like, oh, maybe if this game gets like significant stuff added in updates, then I'll play it again. But then they added stuff in updates and then took it out. So I feel like he's probably not going to play it again. I have no issues. I have no issues with it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful game. It's seriously, wow. They did such a great job. Okay, Midnight Mercenaries. This is yet another fan game. We got a lot of these today. This was made by my, what, I don't know what to call it, cohort, my peer, one of my respected peers, German Peter, whose videos I greatly enjoy. He got in contact at one point and was like, hey, you know, do you want to play this game that I made that is like a Hotline Miami TF2 crossover game? And I was kind of like, frankly, oh, you know, that sounds cool. And in my head, I'm kind of thinking, it's probably going to be mid. You know, like, as much as I love German Peter, I respect him, I think he's good at what he does, I was like, he made a fan game, and apparently he's made a ton of fan games, or like several fan games. I was kind of in my head like, oh, it's probably not going to be that great. Like, it's probably going to be whatever. But I played it, and I came out of that thinking, like, that was one of the best fan games I've ever played in my entire fucking life. It was shocking. I was like, it's not to say that I had, like, low expectations, but my expectations were blown out of the water by how good this was. It was, like, for one thing, in a way, Midnight Mercenaries is, like, it feels more solidly like designed and developed and more and like less jank than actual Hotline Miami, just like mechanically, which is fucking insane. That's just how it felt. Maybe I'm wrong on that on a technical level, but it felt like it legit felt more professional and clean than actual Hotline Miami. I would not say that I ranked this game above Hotline Miami, but like it was fucking awesome. And it's like if you're a fan of both Hotline Miami and TF2, this game's like, it's got to be like an instant pickup for you. Like, you got to play this. If you're a fan of TF2 or Hotline Miami on their own, I would say there's probably still enough to keep you going in here. It just shows so much, it demonstrates so much love and passion towards both TF2 and Hotline Miami. I felt a little more, it was basically like Hotline Miami gameplay style with just a ton, like, injected with all this love of TF2. And there were so many little, and it was kind of nice having German Peter there to say, like, oh, that's like an obscure little reference to this like random thing in the fucking TF2 comics, or this is a reference to some old ad for like a console version of TF2. I don't know. I'm kind of pulling those out of my ass. I don't know if either of those are real, but little tidbits. There was lots of stuff where I was like, oh my god, like that's such a cute little like love letter. The whole thing's such a love letter to TF2, and the gameplay is really fun. It's solidly designed. I think they literally just made a new engine. Like, they built this from the ground up. It feels like heavily modded Hotline Miami in a way, but I think they just made it all from scratch, which is fucking mental. And it wasn't just German Peter. There were other people who worked on the project, but really well designed. All the classes had really unique gameplay. Like, you snipe as the sniper, and you spy as the spy, and you blow shit up as the demo man. There was some weird wild cards in there. Like I think the demo man has Kira's ability from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, basically. Maybe it was the demo man, maybe it was someone else. But like it felt like all the classes had gameplay that was suited to the way that they play in TF2, just translated over like expertly to Hotline Miami. It was really incredible. And it's free. And it's fucking free. Oh, big stretch. Yeah. You go, buddy. Good job. So anyway, it was like a fucking incredible fan game, and I was shocked at how good it was. There were a couple of kind of maybe a little annoying boss fights, but that's kind of par for the course for Hotline Miami, frankly. There were never really, I felt like there weren't really points where I got like so frustrated that it wasn't like fun anymore. It was just like the right amount of difficult in a lot of ways. So fucking bravo. Good shit. I don't know, I'd give it like a 9. Just going on my gut here. They did a really, really great job. Okay, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. Bella and I played quite a bit of this. And it's a Smash-like. It's a platform fighter with Nickelodeon characters, if some of you somehow don't know this. I'm not the biggest fan, but I enjoyed it for what it was to a certain level. It, in a lot of ways, it just feels like a sort of cheap discount Smash Brothers, like a lot of platform fighters do. There's just a certain, again, that Nintendo polish, that Nintendo level of quality and like oomph and like thought put behind all the like on-hit sound effects and stuff like that just make everything pop and feel fresh and amazing. There just wasn't quite that level of polish on it, and I understand that they don't have the budget of Nintendo, but it's just like, this is just something that you need to accept as a developer of a platform fighter, is you're usually not going to make something as just like visually and mechanically polished as Smash. I mean, mechanically, you know, famously modern Smash games aren't very well balanced, or, well, not that they're not well balanced, but, you know, not everybody's a huge fan of the direction that these games take as fighting games, but they do, you gotta admit that they have that crazy polish. Hilariously, the one that people play competitively the most is like the least polished one, Melee. Yeah, no, they didn't have Sakurai's secret sauce. Isabel says fucking 10 out of 10 on Nasib 2. It was like, it's fun. There's cool mechanics. They threw a bone to like competitive players. A lot of these platform fighters honestly just feel like bait for Smash players, you know, where it's like, we're just gonna take a little bit of the Smash players like money for a while, you know. Multiverses kind of felt the same way. Multiverses apparently is making a big comeback. So I don't know. I felt that this game was kind of rough around the edges. There were a lot of parts, like, a lot of the stages have, like, annoying music, or, like, music that I just don't really like very much, or, like, layouts that I'm not a big fan of. And the characters that are in the game, there's, like, it's, like, half the roster is, like, cool, enjoyable, like, fun cartoon characters, and then there's this there's this part of the roster that's, like, fucking this is not the one with Game of Thrones in it. That's Multiverses, but this has like the Avatar the Last Airbenders characters in it. Avatar the Last Airbender characters in it and shit like that. That just feels super out of place. It just feels like one of the things with Smash is that like Nintendo and, you know, their adjacent properties that they've pulled from, you know, even things from other companies, they tend to, and this, I mean, this is also a criticism I kind of have, and a lot of people have of Smash, is that a lot of characters in it don't really, to a lot of people, I think, fit the vibe of the game. You know, this is the classic, like, anime swordsman complaint in Smash Brothers, is me and like a lot of other people included at least think that it's like much more suited for like madcap, like goofy characters, you know, like Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life and the Angry Beavers and the fucking Reptar and shit. Like those are all cool, and then all the ones that are just like a normal proportioned human being with like superpowers, it's kind of like they just feel out of place and weird, especially in a lot of these stages, you know. But like Jenny Teenage Robot, it's cool that she's there. Fucking Jimmy Neutron, I don't know. Uh, it's enjoyable. It just kind of feels like discount Smash to a certain degree, but it's inoffensive. I just don't think it has like the same staying power as Smash Brothers, and I think that's a fair. It's fair to compare it to Smash because it is all but begging, I think, to be compared to Smash. I don't know. Uh, I'm not even sure. I guess recommend, sure, whatever. Uh, hmm. Give it like a 6.5. I don't know. I'd rather play Smash Remix, honestly. Okay, how are we doing for time? We're almost at 2 hours here. I think I could probably bang out the rest of these in this session, though. We'll see. We'll see. Hyper Demon. This was a first-person shooter that has like a surreal, dark, like horror sort of vibe to it, but like a psychedelic dark horror. The visuals of this game are fucking crazy. You should not play this game if you're sensitive to like flashing lights or like intense visuals. It's got like insane FOV and like all these other weird like warping effects on it. But it is a very, very cool game. And I had a lot of fun playing it even as a confessed, I'm pretty bad at first-person shooters. Like, they just feel like a weak spot for me when it comes to gaming skill. So even I, with my lack of skill, was able to have a certain amount of fun with this game. And I could just feel in my bones, like through the design, the very meticulous, like careful consideration of like the design of the enemies and the ways that you move around and shoot. I could just feel that like this has got to be one of the most crazy satisfying first-person shooters like ever to exist, and maybe I couldn't like unlock that potential at my own skill level, but I could just taste it. I could almost taste it that like if I was a lot better at first-person shooters, this would be an immensely satisfying and compelling game. And there's not a lot of content. It's just like an infinite arcade mode basically. And I think that's it, with like a really well-designed, comprehensive, like easy to understand leaderboard with replay systems. It's very cool. It's very polished, very well made. I felt that it wasn't exactly for me, but it was fun. It was very fun and cool. So yes, but maybe there's some asterisks in there if you can't handle the visuals of it. A lot of people were talking about Devil Daggers, which apparently is the precursor to this game by the same developer. I haven't played or heard of that, or I hadn't heard of it before I streamed this. Maybe I'll play it at some point, but I just felt like maybe that's worth mentioning. I don't know. What do I give it? Like an 8. A lot of these I'm like, I'll be like thinking about it, and then I'll just be like, you know what number seems good in my head? 8. And we'll go with that. Giballer. This is another yes. This is from the developer of Mosa, I think with other developers who didn't work on Mosa. It is a very stripped down 2D bullet hell game where you control the main character using the mouse. It's just a mouse control, like free, unlimited thing. And the basic premise of the game is you're in this little like arena, and you pick up collectibles, and as you pick up the collectibles, they spawn bullets that shoot at you in like increasingly difficult or hard to predict patterns, and you dodge them, pick up more collectibles, spawn more bullets, dodge those bullets, pick up more collectibles, blah blah blah. It's a very simple game loop, and although they do introduce a lot of cool bullet types and a lot of interesting complexity to the gameplay, it never gets too complicated. It really is just sort of a zen out and like dodge things kind of game. I really enjoyed just playing through the main campaign of it, although it's pretty lacking in variety besides like having a lot of exciting different bullet types. It's the exact same arena and the exact same music the entire time you're playing the game. And it's kind of got that Balatro situation going on where the music is good. It's a very, very good song that you can get a lot of longevity out of. Oh my god, there's a hummingbird outside my window. That was amazing. Wow. I'm literally, this is such a like ADHD joke. A squirrel. It's only got one song. It's a very good song, but it got old by the end of the game. And especially, I played a little bit more of this game off stream too, and I was increasingly annoyed by the music, just by the fact that it's the same song. Like, just put in like maybe 2 or 3 songs. I don't know. My main issue with this game is that there's like challenge stages, and the method to unlock them is that you have to, it's like every stage has like a dark side, basically, and you have to play that stage a certain number of times over without dying in order to unlock it. And with some of the easier stages, it's like you have to play this stage 10 times over in order to unlock like the dark, harder version of it, which is fucking insane. That's way too much. They make you go through the levels way fucking too much. I just couldn't believe how insanely padded the unlocking system was in this game. The entire rest of the thing was so good, and then I was like, why the fuck did they structure it like that? Some of the later levels that are really long, it's like, okay, you only have to go through this one like 5 or 3 times, but those are really long ones, and it's just got exhausting and boring. And so as much as I loved this game, I really didn't want to full clear it because it just felt like it was tedium. It was just like, it felt like homework having to do that shit. So let's go ahead and say this one's like a 7. I don't know. It really is let down by just the lack of like, you know, like visual variety I don't even really need, but like the lack of like some extra music, and just I think like maybe a better way to approach the unlocks would have been like clear this stage in like a certain amount of time, you know, because doing it quicker is harder than doing it slower, because a lot of the time you can just wait for bullets to pass when you're going slow. So why couldn't it have just been like beat the stage in under a certain amount of time? And that would have been like a skill-based thing that isn't long and tedious where you have to actually unlock something. I don't know. That part just felt poorly tuned. Okay, ClueFinders 3rd Grade Adventures Mystery of Mathra. It's very difficult for me to talk about this game without being biased because I played it as a child and it's an educational game. But did you just move? I thought I heard something. Whatever. It is like a pretty middle of the road adventure educational game. I don't know. There's nothing offensive about it. I think you know, you certainly wouldn't want to be like, oh, I'm trying to teach my children like basic stuff. Like, what if you're like homeschooling your kids or whatever? I feel like a lot of educational games are supposed to be tools for homeschooling. I feel like nobody in the modern era is going to be like, oh yeah, you know what I'm going to use as a tool to teach my kid? This random crap from the 90s and early 2000s, you know? But for what it's worth, it has like a cool little like comprehensive lesson plan along with it. It comes with like basically a PDF just like full of information about like how to teach certain parts to your child or to a child. I don't know if they were expecting people to like teachers to use this in the classroom or what. But it's a good educational game. I mean, it taught me things, and I remember it having, you know, it's got memorable characters. It's got kind of funny voice acting that kind of sounds... It almost has a Zelda CDI kind of feel to it. With, like, the clearly local talent voice acting, you know? Or kind of like a Humongous Entertainment game. So, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and give it a no on a recommendation, because why would you play this? This is one where it's like, hey, just watch my stream, but like, it's a decent quality educational game that's colorful and thoughtful. It's just that it's also an educational game that I would really only play for the nostalgia value at this point. Okay, it's no Dr. Mario, that's for sure. Okay, Penny's Big Breakaway. This was another fucking awesome platformer. So good, actually. It was a little rough around the edges, especially when it first came out. It felt like I heard a few people saying like this game maybe needed a little more time in the oven to cook before they released it, and perhaps that's true. But it is still a banger fucking game. There's a couple little things that are a little rough around the edges. I think some of the boss fights are kind of like jank, although I haven't replayed it in a while, and they've been patching that shit, so maybe they fixed a lot of the stuff that I would have had issues with. It's just a really smooth, clean, visually and audio like appealing game. The visuals are beautiful. I love what they've done with the colors that they selected to use in like the backgrounds of the levels. There's a lot of really sort of unusual, I kind of want to say like JoJo-esque color palettes in this game. Really nice, like real easy on the eyes in my opinion. Really thoughtfully designed levels. This is made by the same team that made Sonic Mania, and I believe this is their first 3D game, which is fucking insane. They did such a good job for their first 3D game. And so, yeah, Bella, maybe you should you should totally pick this game back up, because they patched out, like, you don't clip out of bounds and shit nearly as much as you used to, I think. There was one big patch that they pushed out, and then I think a bunch of smaller ones. But the visuals are incredible. It all just looks so clean and so good and colorful and fun and exciting. The music is fantastic. I've been jamming out to this soundtrack for the past few days, actually, in particular. Banger after banger after banger. So many good songs. Great video game music, too. Recently, I've started saying this really stupid point that probably is nothing, that I think great video game music has like a lot of different parts to a song, like a lot of different really memorable melodies in different sections that kind of change up the feel of the song. The soundtrack is just amazingly designed and has that kind of vibe to it, where it's like, oh, I love this song. Oh, I love this part. Oh, I love this part. Oh, and then this part happens. That part's so good. You know, it's just like hard not to be enthusiastic about every aspect of this game, honestly. And like the gameplay is really finely tuned. I think maybe if you're going into this game thinking, oh, made by Sonic people, speed, maybe I would say settle down. It's a little more about, like, it is kind of about speed, but it's more about like smoothness. It's about like executing everything in a kind of smooth way where all your moves kind of flow into one another. And there's this really satisfying swing. There's a nice dash. The roll move that you do on the ground is great. It's all just really fantastic stuff. And getting a little bit more of like a skill level at this game, getting more of a skill level, becoming more skilled at this game is a really satisfying feeling, because especially like replaying levels to try to get a better time or a better score too, it's so satisfying and it's so rewarding. I just think everything about this game is great. I'd say the weakest part is probably the boss fights. Some of the boss fights are kind of underwhelming, where it's just like, what was that? What? That was a boss, you know? Even the final boss is a little underwhelming, even though they really tried their darndest. It's cool, but it just it doesn't have the same oomph as like the rest of the game. But the levels, which make up the vast majority of the game, are so fun. It's such a cute, great game. Everything about it I like. I don't know. Give it like a 9.5. Frankly. That's what my heart is telling me. Great game. Conditional formatting. We've seen a couple times the conditional formatting worked, but sometimes it just doesn't. Where's the nearest 9.5? Oh god. Oh god. It's usually so easy to just like pluck this. I just saw a bunch of people show up in the fucking in the window because somebody posted the link to this spreadsheet in chat. I just saw a bunch of fucking names pop up. Who are you people? Okay, I'll take it from Omori and plop it in there. Okay. Oh, go back up. There we go. So, Penny's Big Breakaway, very, very good. Huge recommend, especially if you're a big fan of platformers. Of course. Yeah, we've got sitting in here, Anonymous Elephant, Anonymous Quagga, anonymous manatee, and anonymous leopard. They always got to have some hipster fucking pick like the quagga. Is that what Quagmire from Family Guy, is that what his like African American friends refer to him as? That's terrible. Windowkill. This was an awesome game. Another great indie game. This was made by, I wonder if they're, oh, Big Stretch. I wonder if they're in, I wonder if they're even in chat. I kind of doubt it. And I'm struggling. I forget their name. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue, but they are a chatter. This was made by a chatter, and they did a fucking fantastic job. I've seen a lot. -2. Wow. Oh, look at him. -10. There's some +2s. -5 from my girlfriend. Very cool. Very cool. Look at him trying to get comfy. Oh, and he's perfectly, and I sleep. Perfectly comfy acquired. I'm seeing some +2s. There's a couple +2s. It was a bad joke. It was a really awful joke. Do I still update the games I want to eventually play list? Not very much, but sometimes I do. Every once in a while. Windowkill was very, very good. I'm struggling to think of the name of the person who made it, but they did a fantastic job. It's like a Vampire Survivors or 20 Minutes to Midnight style sort of shoot 'em up. It's got a very different style from those games, though. It's got this very unique... It's kind of this is a gimmicky game, but I think it's a gimmick that is carried well. Like, they did a good job with the gimmick, basically. Yeah, I should put Peggle Dinners on here. I didn't put it on the other spreadsheet because I just put it in the same playlist as Peggle Nights. There's a whole category for just Peggle Nights user created levels, but I guess I should put it on here. Maybe next time. Maybe this time. I don't know. I'm kind of I want to go eat food. So I'm kind of trying to like get to the end of this stream, but next time probably. Anyway, Windowkill was very, very good. It's a Vampire Survivors-esque game, like a shooter, where you gain abilities and fight stronger and stronger hordes of enemies. It's got this sort of gimmick where every entity in the game, besides like shots, I guess, every enemy, or not even every enemy, every boss and a bunch of other little incidental things are all part of these like little windows, and you're like shooting the sides of the window to expand it. And the way that this game exists on your desktop is very, very cool, and it can be a little graphically intensive. It can kind of slow down sometimes, but if that happens, there's also this really excellently done like fake mode where it has like basically a simulated desktop for you, which I think I remember switching to that mode at one point and being like, well, this basically is just functionally identical to playing on my desktop, you know. So it was all very, very well made. It's very fun. It's not got quite the same amount of, you know, like Vampire Survivors has an insane amount of replay value because it's kind of like scummily designed to like hook you, you know, but just with the sheer amount of stuff that you unlock in that game. Windowkill is not quite as expansive, but I kind of didn't mind it being like, with Vampire Survivors, when I played it, I was like, I wish this was a more compact, compressed experience. And Windowkill is basically that, and with a really unique, cool aesthetic to it, a really cool gimmick. The way some of the bosses work plays off of that gimmick really, really well without wishing to spoil. Really fucking cool stuff. It genuinely, like, I know it might look like just a silly gimmick game, and I swear I'm not just saying this because a chatter made this game, but it is fan-fucking-tastic. Like, I was shocked at how fun it was. What are we gonna give this one? Yes! I'll give it like an 8.5. There's not like a ton to it, is all. In a weird way, like I kind of wish there was a little more to it, just in terms of like complexity, but like, there is stuff. And like, I guess the method of finding the final boss was kind of a little obtuse, I would say. It was a cool little puzzle, but I would have maybe preferred for it to just be like the final boss is just a thing that happens after a certain amount of time. That's just personal preference for me, though. Yeah, I don't know. There's also Bastion from Overwatch. That's exactly right. Okay, shoot 'em 3D game. This is going to be an NA. This was just something that I thought was kind of... Windowkill reminded me of this game, and so I showed it on stream, but it was in a form where it's, like, completely broken and unplayable, so I'm just going to put not applicable there, and I think when I say not applicable, I just don't even give a recommendation or not. Yeah. It was just a cool little, like, ASCII game that, like, changed... The graphics looked really weird when you, like, resized the window. That was about it. So, yeah, that's on here as a formality. Okay, then Guess the Game. This is a website, but it's also kind of a game. It's like a GeoGuessr. It's GeoGuessr for video games, basically, where you go on and it's like a daily challenge. But you can also play the back catalog of like old daily challenges, and it shows you like a really obscure sort of screen cap from a video game, and then you type in a guess at what the game is, and if you get it wrong, then it shows you like another picture that's like maybe slightly less obscure, and then another one that's like makes it even more clear what game it is, etc. Until it's basically like the last picture like all but gives it away, and it's like basically, do you know the name of this game? Do you recognize a screenshot, like a brazen screenshot from this game? I found this very enjoyable, actually. I remember, I mean, I played it and I streamed this like 3 or 4 times because I was like, I like doing this. I enjoy talking about video games, clearly. I enjoy sort of flexing my knowledge on random video games, so I found it very fun, especially to do in front of an audience. I wasn't like looking at chat a lot of the time, I guess, but it was a good time, and I think especially for like insufferable game nerds like me, it's a good experience. But a lot of the time, there's also going to be, especially in the later daily challenges, they kind of did just run out of like famous games to use, so it like gets harder and harder the further you get away from the first edition of it, basically, which I think was like Ocarina of Time or something. So keep that in mind, and there's, as you progress, there's going to be a lot of games where it's like, oh my god, it's another like, you know, mid-2000s gray-brown first-person shooter that looks identical to every other mid-2000s gray-brown first-person shooter. And depending on your knowledge of games, there's going to be some, you're going to have, everyone has blind spots, and there's going to be some stuff, some genres of games where you're just like, oh my god, stop showing me these, you know? So, I don't really know, this is a tough one to rank, but yeah, like, check it out. It's non-committal. You know, I say finished here because I literally, like, did all the content that there was at that time, but since it adds more every day, of course, I could technically keep playing it. I feel no real desire to do it, though. I got my fill. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. He's squeaking. He kind of has stopped doing this recently. He's done it, like, once or twice in the past week. Buddy, what's wrong? Here. Cheerio time? Cheerio time? Are you having a little nightmare there, buddy? He speaks. The man speaks. Here, dude. You want a Cheerio? Nice little Cheerio. I was gonna pet you, but, that works. He recedes to his den. Poor baby. Let's, I'm also gonna take, here's, this always calms him down. The big log of alfalfa. I'll put this like right here and maybe he'll have a little munch. We don't want our baby to be sad. We don't want him to be cry. We don't actually know like what that sound signifies, but my headcanon is that that is when he has a nightmare. Like it seems like sometimes he has bad dreams and it makes him squeak. I really don't know. We've asked a ton of people, including like a lot of like people who are knowledgeable about chinchillas. We really don't know what that sound is. There were some people that were like, "Oh, he's like warning you about something," or he's like, you know, he's trying to like protect you. And we were like, I don't know. Anyway, guess the game. It was like a. There was a lot of like kind of tedious parts. Grinding through all of them, It would be like maybe like a 7.5 or 8. Whatever. He's not going for the cube, but it seems like the Cheerio snapped him out of it. And that's the thing, is that like it doesn't seem like he's sad necessarily. It just seems like he's like distracted, or like, I don't know. Yeah, he just did it once. He did it exactly one time. Well, I pretty immediately gave him a Cheerio. All right, I see you going down there, buddy. I got my hand on the turn off the cam button here. He's just cleaning, I think. You would know. You would know if he was going for his pee-pee. The hey cube kinda is like a sensor bar in a way. Just in case he does go for that. Okay. He's just cleaning. If you see him doing hanky-panky, let me know. Okay. We're almost done for today. Pepper Grinder. These last two, just two more amazing indie games that came out just recently. Pepper Grinder was a really fun 2D platformer. It really reminded me of Donkey Kong Country in a lot of ways, but it had that unique gimmick of drilling through surfaces, drilling through the earth, in a 2D platformer, which is kind of uncommon. The most I've ever seen of that is Worms, which is a very different kind of game, of course. But this is a very satisfying, very fun, sort of kinetic 2D platformer. There were some parts that felt frustrating. I felt like the control scheme, of all things, was a little weird. There were some little fiddly things about the controls that, like, just never quite glommed with me. But overall, it was a very, very fun experience. It was kind of a short experience. I often champion, the short indie game. Because, yeah, are you going for... No, he's just cleaning. It just keeps looking like he's going for his pee-pee zone. Let's just turn it off just in case, because I think he's feeling around that area. Yeah, no, like the instant I turned the fucking cam off, he started doing it. He is sucking his own dick. Okay. We're just gonna not have Roach Cam for a little bit while he does his do. He started doing it like right after I turned the camera off. Anyway, Pepper Grinder was fun. It was there were a couple little frustrating parts. The bosses were cool. I felt like they were designed to be difficult, so I didn't mind dying over and over in a few of them. The final boss did get pretty frustrating for me personally. Maybe that's just a skill issue, but that's just my personal experience with the game. Overall, it was very, very fun and very cute. I also felt that, like, I would have loved to have been able to spend money on, like, bonus levels rather than cosmetics that didn't really seem to do much. So that's, like, one small criticism, is that there was, like, a lot of focus on, like, getting stickers for camera mode and getting coins so that you could, and there were bonus levels, but I wish there were more. Getting little cosmetics that I just they weren't really appealing to me. So let's, of course, give it a recommend. I don't know, like an 8.5. I'd give it an 8.5. Very competently made, very enjoyable, very fun. I don't really remember the music, but I think the music was good. I just can't even remember it off the top of my head. It's only like 3 hours long. That's like... And I feel like genuinely that's like going to be kind of a that's like kind of a bad selling point for a lot of people, I think, on a platformer. But it's just a kind of game you can crank out in like one afternoon, and that was a very, very fun afternoon. Let's see. Are you done, dude? No, he's still jorking it. I think he's just about done. It's such a shame that we have to censor him. Oh, what a world we live in, that we can't just watch a rat suck his own dick in peace. I don't really want to broadcast that, though. It doesn't feel appropriate. Okay, Yellow Taxi goes vroom. This is another yes. This game was fantastic. I would even maybe go so far as to give this game a 9. This was a very, very fun, energetic 3D platformer. This is a super underappreciated game. I saw just the other day that Zero Punctuation, or Fully Ramblematic as it's now known, he did a review on this game, which kind of shocked me. And he gave it a glowing review, of course, because anyone who plays this game is going to realize that it's quite good. Very sort of underappreciated recent 3D platformer that has kind of a... Oh, now he's eating the cube. Hold on. Roach Cam can come back now. He's having a little snack on the cube. Oh, he was jorking his peanuts, and now he needs to build up his T count again. Anyway, little post-jerk clarity cube. Post-roach clarity. This game was extremely fun. I thought it was very cool the way that it has a very Celeste-like quality to it, where your movement abilities are seemingly quite simple, but the ways, there's like little things that you can do in different ways that these abilities interact with different like environmental obstacles and shit, that it just expands upon this extremely, it's like a pretty basic move set where it's like you can dash and you can drive and you can move left and right and you can go in reverse. But then like all the different combinations of those buttons and the way that you cancel out of the dash and you do this little like flip hop thing, it's very, very cool. The marketing for this game is frequently insistent on the fact that there's no jump button, which kind of feels like an arbitrary distinction made to like appeal to Super Monkey Ball fans, basically. It very much does have there's like a double jump basically, and in some cases like a triple or quadruple or maybe even infinite amount of jumps in the right situation. But I don't know, that feels like a weird little advertising bit. Don't let that dissuade you. It's very, very fun, very satisfying. It's one of those games where getting better at it just feels so good, and there's a fuck ton of content in this game. Like, Isabel and I were able to play this for a very long period of time and, like, have it feel fresh for a lot of that. And it's got that kind of classic 3D collectathon quality where sometimes you'll be in a level, and this happened to me, this happened to Bella a few times. You'll be in a level, and you can't find that damn last collectible, and you're just searching everywhere, and you're just retreading all this ground, and especially in some of those more like maze-like areas. And you just can't fucking find this last thing, and it's really frustrating. That can kind of bring it down sometimes. Otherwise, the gameplay is like fucking immaculate and extremely satisfying. The game has a very sort of unsubtle, crass sense of humor that sometimes kind of makes it seem trashy. If you're looking at like the Steam page and being like, what do you mean the main villain of this game is called Alien Mosk and he runs the Tosla Corporation? I would advise you to look past that. It does not, that's really as much of like an Elon Musk joke as it has in the game. Like, it really is just the name and the Tosla Corporation association, essentially. Maybe a couple other tiny little things. But I swear it's not as like Reddit brained as it seems. Although there are some parts where I was like, this is just like childish, like Newgrounds gross out humor. A point that leaps to mind is the part where you go into the prolapsed anus of King Kong, and he looks at the camera and like farts come out, and he says, "Oh, I'm farting so much." that was kind of like a did you need to put all that in the game? Did you really need to say all that? That was a bit that kind of leapt out to me. But overall, the crassness of it doesn't really get in the way. It's overall got quite a nice visual look to it. Some of the characters look kind of like intentionally ugly, if that makes any sense, in a way that feels very intentful. You're going right back down to your dick zone there, dude. I can't help but notice. Anyway, very, very, very fun game. It's also got a really cool soundtrack. The soundtrack in some parts got a little irritating from like how energetic and like boisterous it is. but it's very sort of video gamey / Eurobeat kind of informed soundtrack. That's very, very cool, and is nice for driving gameplay a lot of the time. And it's also, I think this game, it's got that crass sense of humor, and there's a lot of other parts of the game that really just genuinely make me laugh. Like when you pick up people in like some of the little Crazy Taxi-esque missions, whenever you drop them off, it places them in a position where they're like almost certainly going to get instantly run over by you when you start driving again, and they go flying and go, wah! And it's very funny every time. And lots of little things like that. It's a cool game with a cool vibe that sometimes gets a little too gross for my tastes, but only very rarely. It's also got a lot of cool hats. Like I said, there's a lot of content, there's a lot of cool bonus levels, a lot of little secrets to find, and the amount of cosmetics. This was one, like Pepper Grinder, a lot of the cosmetics honestly were kind of weak, where it's like a different color for your hair, a different color for your scarf. In Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom, it's like, this cosmetic is a roll of toilet paper that like trails in the wind behind you. This one is 2 people like jumping up and doing exercises on the car. This one like puts this crazy filter over it that makes it look like it's from a completely different video game. I even saw that apparently there's one that you can get, or maybe it's just like a debug thing, that's like a TV and you can put in a custom texture on it, and somebody made one that displays like a grapefruit logo, which is kind of funny. They made like the social media page for Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom made a video like detailing like how to change the textures for like the coins in this TV thing, and one of the example textures that they used was Video Game Donkey's icon in a not so subtle like, "Hey Donkey, please play our game" kind of thing, which was kind of funny. But it was a very cool game. I think I would feel confident in giving this one a 9. It was so very fun and so imaginative and so fresh and entertaining. Okay. And I think that's going to do it for today. We'll do Peggle Dinners next time. I'll like add it to the spreadsheet and stuff, and hopefully I will be done with Silent Hill 2 by next time. And we will have to see if I take so long to do another one of these that we'll be able to just like put off doing Dark Souls even more, or if I will actually start to do FromSoft stuff, or maybe I will cheap out and skip it for now and do Pajama Sam and shit. I don't know. But for now, I think we're done. I'm satisfied with the amount that we got done there today. And there's also these, but we'll do those at some other point. I'm working on Ace Attorney, what is it called? Spirit of Justice right now, and enjoying that quite a bit more than Dual Destinies, frankly. So maybe once I'm done with that, then I'll just review all 3 of those in a row. Anyway, let's go raid somebody. I hope you guys had a fun time here. We Shu was jorking it, and by it I mean his roach. Let's make this full screen, because why not? Boom, baby. There's the cutie. I wish I could go give him scritches right now, but it's not really, with the webcam set up and this little shelf that has the webcam on it, it's really hard for me to get my hand in there and not block the view. But rest assured that I give him lots of little pets all the time. Every morning I wake up and I scritch his little chin, and he closes his eyes in a way that seems to indicate that he enjoys it. Is anybody streaming right now? Mike went live, like right before I started streaming. Oh, Tetris Alex is playing Tetris. That makes sense, I guess. Mike's playing fucking Wordle right now. I love how I was talking about like guess the game, and he's playing one of those kind of games right now. What is Vansas playing? Felvidek. Oh yeah, I've seen this around. Seems cool. Let's just go raid Mike. Whatever the hell. Who cares? Who cares? I will try to do another one of these kind of soon. I still want to, of course, the goal has always been to catch up, basically, to the games that I'm currently playing, and then only have to do one of these streams like every few months. we've kind of reached that point where I'm like doing one every few months and just ignoring a certain chunk of the list. I kind of want to push past that part, so hopefully I can accomplish that. I hope you had fun. I hope this was an enjoyable thing. I know some people really love these review streams for like background noise and stuff, and you know, put it on the headphones while you're doing chores. That's, if I was a Grapefruit fan, I feel like that's how I would absorb these streams. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned that Rich Evans was in The End Is Nigh. Let's go. I should actually type out the raid. Oh, he won. He won at Wordle. Poggers. And there will, hopefully we will do some Silent Hill 2 and maybe some other, like, long-standing stuff that I need to, get around to. Here, let's give him a little scritch. Let's give him a little scritch. Did a little scritch on the forehead. Yeah. Hey, buddy. Hi. Yeah, you like that. Okay, I'm done harassing the rat. He's got the forehead dent. Look at him. Oh, big stretch. I love when he makes his body a big long noodle like that. Yes, hello, buddy. Hello. Hi. Yeah. It's a good buddy. It's a good buddy. Hell yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'll leave him to his forehead dent. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you,